The Shooting Range. In this episode, Pages of History, Obscure Winner, Squad Mates, Surviving the Jungle, and Metal Beasts, the new 222. Today's Metal Beast offers you another respite from all those top vehicles, since this is an older machine. Actually, the new Sky Guardians vehicle is way in the beginning of the tech tree. Please welcome the German SD KFZ 222 armored car. Its main caliber is a 20mm autocannon with elevation angles between -7 and +85 degrees. It's enhanced by a coaxial machine gun. The engine compartment is in the rear, while the transmission is at the bottom of the hull. The driver sits in the front, while both the gunner and the commander are in the turret. The main feature of any wheeled vehicle is speed, and this German armored car meets the wildest of expectations. Its 18 horsepower per ton provide a satisfying level of acceleration, and coupled with its top speed of 90 kilometers an hour, it can leave most of its counterparts behind. The maneuverability is also impressive. Thanks to the steerable rear axis, it can complete a turn at a tiny spot. This ability feels like a very pleasant change after top-wheeled tanks with their smooth turns. Moreover, it's pretty useful in any retreat. The 222 does have some 15 kilometers an hour in reverse, which isn't too shabby. But why back up slowly when you can make a U-turn and speed away? You can also use some smoke to hide this maneuver from the enemy's eyes. The armored car is armed with the same 20mm autocannon installed on other German Rank 1 vehicles. Its armor-piercing rounds can easily handle the armor on most of its opponents, while its modest damage is compensated with a high rate of fire. That's why we recommend you keep an eye on the number of rounds left in your belt. 10 pieces will vanish in seconds, and the reload that follows is pretty long for Rank 1. Of course, you wouldn't want to be caught within enemy sights at that moment. While this is an armored car, it's only protected by 8mm of steel, which is as good as paper against anti-tank cannons no matter the slope angle. The 222 has an open compartment as well, an extra juicy target for enemy aircraft. Fortunately, your cannon can be useful here. It can be pitched all the way up, and coupled with a high rate of fire and fast rotation, you can shoot back upon the pesky flyers. All in all, the SD KFZ 222 is a fun and lovely machine. It's great for dynamic combat and can bring satisfying frags even in the hands of less experienced players. We think it's a great option for beginners. It's widely known that the most mass-produced Soviet bombers during World War II belonged to the PE-2 family. And when you read some history or even play War Thunder, you might wonder, just why? There were so many better machines at that time and even in the same class. Take a look at the Polikarpov TIS. Same bomb load, but much better flight performance and such an arsenal of cannons that it can win almost any frontal attack. Here's the Tu-2, with offensive armament better than on the PE-3 fighter, good defensive weapons, more speed, and a better bomb load. There was also the Yakovlev BB-22, the one used to make the Yak-2 strike aircraft and the Yak-4 bomber. Finally, there was the AR-2, based on the SB. The Soviet Union had several thousand of those when the war reached the country. Why didn't they use a tested design? Well, if you go deeper into this issue, you can learn quite a few surprising facts. For instance, every Soviet engineer and their grandma was trying to make a multi-role two-engined aircraft before the war. There's the Mikoyan and Gurevich MiG-5, the Tairov TA-1 and TA-3, the SPB, a close relative to the TIS. So many machines were designed and built, and most of them had an edge over the PE-2. So why did it win the race despite all of the flaws it had? The answer, as it often happens, was amazingly simple and also pretty complicated. To put it short, the PE was the golden mean among all the contenders for the role of frontline bomber. It was big enough to carry the needed bomb load and also had enough fuel to reach the required range. The more compact BB-22 and TIS couldn't boast that. Moreover, the PE was also small enough to use simple, mass-produced M105 engines, the same ones used by the Yak and LAG planes. The early Tu-2 and TIS required expensive and scarce AN-37s, which could have been used on the Il-2 instead. Moreover, if you dig deeper, all the flaws of the PE were actually advantages. For instance, it inherited numerous electric controls from the VI-100 project. Of course, they needed extra attention, but they were also very simple to service, fix, and replace compared to cumbersome hydraulics. Another point, full metal bodies needed scarce duralumin, while the PE-2 was half wooden. It was also so simple to make that most of the operations could be handled by women and children who had to replace the men who were sent off to war. As a cherry on top, the PE was extremely simple to modify, receiving new onboard devices, more armor, or new weapons. When the factories experienced a deficit of M105 engines, they switched to the radial M82 instead. You know how long it took the engineers to finish the new design? A whopping 2 days. Just remember how much it took Lavochkin to turn the LAG-3 into the LA-5, or how long it took Tupolev to retrofit the Tu-2 to use the same engines. The factory managed to make more than 100 PE-8s with the M82 engine, and when the scarcity issue was resolved, they simply switched back to the originals. We've mentioned many times before that war is all about the economy of large numbers. The PE-2 was simple and even somewhat primitive, but had just enough efficiency. They could be built in the thousands, even at poorly equipped factories, all while remaining reliable and successful in their missions. That's why the PE-2 outraced all of its competition and was the first to become the main Soviet frontline bomber, and then the most mass-produced bomber. We've seen our squad mates fight in many different places, but never in a tropical forest before. Time to fix this and find out how a couple of players can become successful and achieve victory on the jungle map. As it often happens in the game, the tactics we discuss are valid for both sides. In the first scenario, the players should spawn on different points and start by driving to their positions. The northern player should move to the central height in square C4, while their squad mate should move to capture point C. Even if the latter fails to capture it, they can block the enemy from doing so, and win some time for the former player, who's likely to meet some resistance on one of the main heights of the location. Once you control the C4 hill, you can use crossfire to push your enemy out from point C. The southern player can play bait, pulling enemies under fire. The tanker in C4 shouldn't limit their attention to the southern direction only, though. Their position also offers a great view of the opposite side of the map. The rest of your actions depend on the combat situation. If both points on the shore are in enemy hands, the squad mates have to interfere. The player around point C needs to get to the central hill while keeping an eye on the approaches to the abandoned area around the capture point. The second player should go down to the beach in the meantime. If the enemy team has no numerical superiority, you can head to their territory right away and block off their advance from reinforcements. They're unlikely to last long without new waves of allies. If the enemy outnumbers you, play carefully and try to get your home point back first. Scenario number 2 is amazing if you love warm, sunny beaches. Although we can't promise you'll have time to relax and bask in the sun. As before, the first player should head for the central height, while the other one should drive towards the home points. You can leave the capture to your allies and win a bit of time, which you can spend by occupying a comfy position at the top of a small hill in the center of the beach. Once your squad mates are all in position, the enemy will be hit with crossfire and easily harassed even at their home point. All that's left to do for the shore tanker is to move forward and take it. Remember to use your main weapon, the ability to quickly pass information. This way, even 2 players can win against more numerous forces. By the way, you can search for a squad mate right in the comments below. Meanwhile, we found some great questions and are going to answer some of them. The first question was sent by a player called Luca Tail. Why is the canopy of the F-16 yellow? Hi, Luca. There's a special metal coating on the canopy that gives it this color. The coating protects the pilot from the sun and reduces the aircraft's radar signature. Elias Santoro asks, what's the best way to play the STRV-81RB52? Hey, Elias. Much like all Centurions, this tank is best at longer ranges. Another question comes from Ratito Jones. What's the smallest aircraft cannon in the game? What about the smallest tank cannon? Hi there, Ratito. The smallest caliber of a cannon is 20 millimeters, according to classification. Anything with a smaller caliber is by definition not a cannon. But if we go wider and encompass all small arms, the smallest tank caliber is 5.8 millimeters, while for aircraft, it's 7.5 millimeters. Shapar writes, which plane has the most powerful piston engine? Hello, Shapar. The most powerful piston engine is installed on the American AM-1 Mauler. It has 28 cylinders, 70 liters of volume, and produces more than 3,300 horsepower. And the last comment for today was written by Mr. Dino. Hey, Gaijin, since you're redoing all the old triathlons, could you please also redo the top-tier Jets triathlons? Hi there, Mr. Dino. We do have an updated top-tier triathlon among aircraft in our plans. That's it for today. You've been watching The Shooting Range by Gaijin Entertainment, and the next episode will premiere the following Sunday at 4 p.m. GMT or noon Eastern Time. Subscribe and click the bell if you don't want to miss our next videos. Don't forget that it's tigers, not lions, who live in the mighty jungle. Leave a like, share your thoughts and comments, and see you next week.